welcome to In Their Own League. We are continuing our discussion of our fave films from 2024 and kind of looking into tomorrow through our crystal balls to see who is going to win. Well, fingers crossed, maybe a little bit of fun here predicting our faves of who we think is going to take the award at the Oscars this year. So we have with us Caz Armstrong, Calum Cooper, Brian Skutle. Thanks everybody for being here today. Let's get into it. So we were discussing, we have the BAFTA Awards has been completed. The SAG Awards have been completed. We are looking at some interesting races shaping up here. And as far as best film, as we were saying, I think that the triad will be down to Anora or Brutalist or Conclave. But as we were discussing, what happened to the substance? It kind of got shut aside, I think, as the races have firmed up and as other awards have been given out. Still a fantastic film, still totally groundbreaking. And how I now describe, I think really it has pretty much carved out itself as a new genre, paving a trail to make women's horror a new subgenre in the subject in this genre of horror, and I think that's fantastic. Demi Moore is still a contender, I believe, for Best Actress, but she's got some tough competition with Mikey Madison and even the cast from Wicked. I mean, we've got some seriously powerful actresses this year that are just can knock your socks off in any of those films. So let's get into it. Who should we start with first? Best Picture. Let's start with the top one. All right. So, like I said, do we think that The Substance is a sleeper hit that might upset the apple cart, or do we think there's going to be a sweep, maybe with The Brutalist or Anora taking more than one of the top categories?
So for myself, sorry, do you want to go first, Kaz?
No, you go.
So for me, kind of the big win of The Substance was the fact that it got nominated at all because, like yourself, I saw it. When I saw it, I loved it, but I thought, this is going to go the way of Titan. This is far too weird for the Academy's sensibilities. So when it got something like half dozen nominations, I was really pleasantly surprised with that. But sadly, I'm with you. I don't think it's going to take the Best Picture crown. I do think Demi Moore will still win actress because even though she has got strong competition with Mikey Madsen in particular, who is brilliant in Anora, I think Demi Moore has that Hollywood comeback story narrative behind her. And if Hollywood has proven anything, they do love a narrative. So I think she's got a little bit more of an edge to her. I think she still might take it. But Picture's an interesting one because in Britain, certainly, we gave Best Film to Conclave, and that might not be entirely surprising, given that I'm pretty sure it had a British producer and had a lot of British backing in terms of funding. So, we're quite biased in that sense. Britain is going to give it to the more British-leaning picture. But that doesn't mean it's got no chance. No, it could. In a bizarre way, life could imitate art, and through preferential ballots, Conclave could still very well take it. But my thinking right now is that, particularly because of the recent sort of momentum it's been gathering, I think The Brutalist will win the most Oscars of the night, but I think Anora will end up taking Best Picture.
Interesting. What do you think, Kaz?
I really hope that The Substance takes it. I really do, because otherwise we're talking about not what film deserves to take it, but what film. There's a really weird sound going off outside. I apologize if you can hear that. I'm sorry.
No, we're good.
Then it just comes down to what films the Oscar people tend to like, and it's like, is it the best one, or is it the one that they're going to go for? So I would say that the Substance is the best one because it was so out there. It just threw everything it had at the wall, and it was unlike anything else that's on the roster. So that's why I think that should win. Whether it will just comes down to, well, is is this a best film or is this an Oscars film? I suppose it is. It's the Oscars. That's what which film best suits the type of film that the Oscars voters are going to vote for, is a conversation that I think is not quite as fun as which one was the best film. So yeah, I would like that. The Brutalist, I did enjoy The Brutalist. It was one of those long slogs, but for actor, is he up for actor, Adrian Brody?
Yes.
I've got the list over here. Yeah. I think, best actor, maybe. I haven't scrolled down to see who he's against. But Honora was just fun as well. If it doesn't go to substance, I would hope Honora. Conclave was very pretty, which will get it a lot of points. But it's like, so I don't know if you have in the States, Patisserie Valerie, right? Is like this cake shop. And all of the cakes look absolutely gorgeous. And they're stunning and they're very expensive, but they taste really, really bland. And style over substance. And I'm not saying that that Conclave was bland. I'm just saying it was very pretty. What it had underneath that, was that really as strong? If it wasn't as pretty, would it be as strong? And I'm not quite sure it would. So my vote then would be number 1, the substance. Number 2, Honora. Number 3, don't know. Come back to me.
Okay, Brian, I know you've discussed the substance too on your site, which is Sonic Cinema, everybody. Give them a like and follow. But yes.
So, I mean, for substance, the award is the nomination. And I mean, you take anytime you're talking about the awards, I think you have to take the word best with a grain of salt, because I know for me personally, I rarely ever agree with the choices, regardless of whether it's the Critics Association I'm voting in, whether it's the Academy itself. I rarely agree. The substance, the nomination is the award as far as the Best Picture nomination. As I was saying beforehand, I do think Demi Moore is, because of the narrative, and to the point, Hollywood loves a great narrative, and especially a narrative of coming back. And I think for this year, it's Demi Moore. And I'm not going to begrudge them. I mean, she's probably like my third favorite actress of those nominees, but I've been a fan of hers for 30 years. I'm not going to complain seeing her get a nomination, see her getting an Oscar for this, because she was terrific in the film. I think especially if, I will say, we talked about this on the Sonic Cinema podcast when we talked about the Oscars. I think if substance wins makeup, that's as clear an indication as any that Demi Moore is going to win, because they do tend, especially with big transformations in performances, they do like to combine those two elements. And we saw that with Brendan Fraser in The Whale. We saw that with Meryl Streep in The Iron Lady. So there is precedent there. As far as Best Picture, I'll be honest, I've never really, despite all of the critical acclaim, despite all of the critics awards, I'll be honest, I've never been sold on Honora being awarded Best Picture. I'll be honest, I just haven't. It doesn't mean it won't happen. I do think it's one of the big front runners, but to Calum's point, the preferential ballot is going to matter, and I do see it won BAFTA, it won Best Ensemble with SAG. It's an actor's movie, and it's also political, and that is a big part of the narrative early in this year. And I think Conclave does have a chance to win. And I mean, it's not even remotely my favorite of these nominees. For me, that's Nickel Boys. And I will never understand how Nickel Boys did not get a cinematography nomination. I will never understand that in my life. Take out Amelia Perez, give it to Nickel Boys. I'm good with that category. But yeah, I mean, the Brutalist, I think the Brutalist wins if they decide to go big as far as awarding one single film. I think that is your Oppenheimer, that is your Everything Everywhere All at Once. Mm-hmm. But we are also coming off of 2 years where it's been one movie taking basically everything. And I think this is one of those years where you can see them spraying it around a little bit more.
That's an interesting point. There are patterns in the Academy's voting yearly. That's an interesting point that you made, Brian, that we are coming off of consistently one film just kind of sweeping things, and all those nominations, and at least the technical ones, and it comes out to something like 7 or 5 nominations they wind up getting, along with a few of the major ones. So yeah, I think you're right there. I think this year is a little more scattershot. Certainly the films, the variety. That's one thing that was fantastic about this year. The variety of films. It was just like staggering. We've got a musical. We've got horror. This is amazing.
We've got multiple musicals.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we've got multiple musicals, I should say.
Right. We never have to again. What's wrong with this? This is strange. But yeah, so I really think that it's staggering even that the Academy went that and that diverse, because okay, because that's not their strong point. But to your point that historical, the Academy loves a comeback. They love historical winners. They love people who have a body of work. Let's the best actor. So best actor, obviously Chalamet's nominated for Complete Unknown. That might work against him in that, okay, well, relatively young man, has a full career ahead of him. We'll maybe give it to somebody who has more of a body of work. Mm-hmm. Now, honestly, I am a huge fan of Colman Domingo. Oh my goodness. Love his work.
I understand that for had the Brutalist and they prioritized the Brutalist. I will never understand how Colman Domingo is like neck with Adrien Brody for Best Actor. I will never understand that because his performance in Sing Sing was my favorite of the year. It just was. And it breaks my heart because the second I saw his performance, I'm like, oh, that's gotta be Best Actor this year. Right? He was coming off the nomination for Rustin, and it just felt like his moment was here. I feel like Chalamet's win at SAG last week was a fluke. I don't think he's as close as people think he is. I could be wrong because he's playing a real life character, but at the same time, he doesn't have the larger momentum the way Adrien Brody does, who won BAFTA. And I mean, Ralph Fiennes, we had anonymous voters who say, "Oh, I didn't vote for Fiennes because he's already won," completely ignoring the fact that he's never won. It is amazing to me that this category is not Brody versus Domingo versus Fiennes.
Yeah.
I do think to a certain extent there could be a larger surprise in Fiennes winning, sort of like Adrien Brody when he first won for The Pianist. But I feel like it's just become Adrien Brody's movie, and I mean, it is his movie. That's the thing. Like, he is that movie, and it's a remarkable performance.
What do you think? What do you think, Calum? You agree with that?
With actor, I think it's kind of Brody's to lose at this point because he has been getting. He's not won every precursor, certainly. I know Timothée Chalamet certainly came as a pleasant surprise, although it's a slight hot take on my part. I kind of think that Chalamet was better in Dune Part 2 than he was in A Complete Unknown. But that is just a preferential thing on my part. He is still very good in A Complete Unknown, to be fair. Fine. I take your point on that, Brian. Fiennes potentially, if not for the fact that people seem to be having a Mandela effect on his nomination with Schindler's List. Yes, he did not win. He was excellent, but he did not win that year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I do agree with your point as well. Domingo is breathtaking in Sing Sing. It's a remarkable performance. And one snub I do want to mention, it was never going to get an Oscar nomination because it's too indie a film for them to consider. But I recently saw Ghostlight at GFF, Keith Cooper that came out in America like 9 months ago or something. But he was so good in that film. Just this really intimate, sincere portrayal of a man overcoming toxic masculinity and learning. In some ways, it's quite similar to Coleman Domingo's work, and it's about a man learning to be vulnerable again. I thought it was a really beautiful performance. Again, it was never going to get nominated, but it would have been nice to have seen at least some acknowledgement there. But
I feel like it, and I'm glad you brought that up because I love Ghostlight, and he was in my top 3 for both my Critics Association nominations for actor. He's one where I feel like if there had been more critical notices of his, I think he could have gotten in there. But to your point, it is such a small indie film. It just didn't have the momentum that type of thing requires, which is a shame because I love the performances in that movie as well. I am kind of with you. I really like Chalamet in Complete Unknown, but I do think he's better in Dune Part 2. But the fact of the matter is, it's like Chalamet. I think he's gonna be in the DiCaprio category, where it's like he'll get nominations every once in a while, and then he'll finally win one later on his career. I don't know that it will be. I don't see it being now, though.
Yeah,
so
I'm inclined
to 3. So maybe Dune 3.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that, and I know it is a shame that Keith Cooper didn't get in there because sure, Paul Mescal got in for Aftersun a couple years back, but and I love that happened. That's amazing, but that's very much the exception, not the rule of these things, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What do you think, Caz? Any chance in heck of an upset in the best actor category? You think?
Well, I think it's interesting. Sebastian Stan and Timothée Chalamet are both up for playing real life people. Timothée Chalamet, I agree. I think he's too young. It was a good film, but it didn't blow me away. Like, it's good if you like that kind of music. I think films about real life people or like real life situations are always great if you have an interest in that thing already. The hard sell is to the people who don't already.
Yeah.
I was already a fan of Bob Dylan, so I don't know. So I was enjoying the atmosphere and the music and all that stuff. I don't know whether if you weren't already, it would have been particularly appealing. It's one of those ones that sort of winks at the camera when somebody comes on and you're like, oh, look, it's Joan Baez. And everybody's like, see, Baez. And you're like, yeah, I get it. It's okay. But Sebastian Stan, I think he had a more subtle approach and a more subtle transformation because he had to pick up the mannerisms slowly and carefully throughout the film. The things that we have now become synonymous with Mr. T. So I don't know though whether I don't know when all the voting has it already been locked in? Has it actually already took place now, or like at what point? So at what point did certain shenanigans in the White House
the voting will have ended long before what happened yesterday. It will have been like a week or two ago when voting ended, I think.
About a week ago. So if you kind of think, what was the situation about a week ago? Still utter mayhem. Would that have influenced any vote? Is there a I'm going to screw you by voting this way? I'm pure speculation there, but just interesting that we've got two people up for playing real life people. Of the two of them, I think Sebastian Stan did a better job. But overall, like you say, it's Adrian Brody's to lose because that was 18 years worth of film about one person, and it was a performance that was he had to keep an accent for the whole thing. He had to keep up the whole shenanigans. It was quite I was going to say over the top. I don't mean over the top. Like, it wasn't a subtle performance, and he had to keep it up for the whole thing. I mean, there were subtleties in it. Well, I'm just sort of comparing it to something else. I also will say I have not seen Sing Sing. That was on this Edinburgh Film Festival at the same time as, I think, My Favourite Cake, which I absolutely love. But then all this chat came out about Sing Sing, and I still have not been able to watch it. So I need to watch that before Sunday night and perhaps come up with a different. As soon as everybody came out of that, they were like, "Oh my God, that was the best film I've ever seen," and I was like, "Ah, shit."
and the fact that Clarence Macklin didn't get in for supporting that broke my heart as well. He was amazing in that movie. Speaking of Mandela effects, like, people thinking Fine's already won. I had thought James Mangold had already gotten nominated for Walk the Line. I did not realize this was his first directing nomination. When it happened, I'm like, he had to have gotten nominated for Walk the Line, right? It's like, guess not. But I knew he got nominated for writing Logan several years ago, but I didn't realize this was his first directing nomination. But I do think it's interesting, especially an actor, to Caz's point, like, you've got two people playing real life individuals, and neither of them are the front runner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is rare. Because, I mean, obviously, the one I go back to in the past decade is Eddie Redmayne stealing Michael Keaton's Oscar for Birdman by playing Stephen Hawking. And it's like, that is such a change from a decade ago. It's a pleasant change. I'm glad to see it, but I was wondering, because, I mean, Brutalist, especially as the nominations were coming out, Brutalist had this controversy about, well, they used AI to sort of bring Brody's performance into the Hungarian accent and stuff like that. It's like, is that going to really have an impact? And I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. I think, especially with Brody, I don't think anybody anticipated him being back. It felt like with The Pianist, as deserving as he is of it, it felt like that was it for him. I did not anticipate seeing him get nominated again. So the fact that he's gotten nominated and looks like he's on the brink of winning, it's a nice bookend to his narrative, I think.
And it's a comeback story, which, as we've said, Hollywood loves a comeback story, right? I mean, he hasn't won in many years, but let's talk about the Best Supporting Actress, because that kind of confronts an elephant in the room that we really need to talk about. So obviously, BAFTA, Zoe Saldana won for Emilia Perez. Now the question is there anyone else who's really a contender here? Because remember, Selena Gomez is also nominated for the same film for the Oscars. So this is going to be interesting. How is this going to pan out? Are we going to see maybe Ariana Grande winning it for Wicked? Are we going? It's going to be very interesting. Honestly, I love Isabel Rossellini. I adore her, but for the amount of screen time she had in Conclave, I can't see that it's justified in her winning.
No.
And Jamie Lee Curtis has already won her big award already for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I don't see her winning again, even though I enjoyed her performance in The Last Showgirl. So
she's not nominated.
I thought she was.
She's
sorry.
No, she's not nominated for the Oscars. It's Saldana, Rossellini, Ariana Grande, Monica Barbaro for Complete Unknown and
Oh,
Felicity
there you
Jones
go.
for
I got you
Brewless.
confused. Sorry. Thank you very much. Okay.
But no, Rossellini, the nomination is the award. It's basically like, you were in this movie that I think a lot of people in the Academy genuinely love, and you're, even though you're not a huge part of it in the same way that Stanley Tucci or John Lithgow are, you're the most visible female voice in it. I I feel like Saldana's got after SAG. And I mean, honestly, the way I don't like the movie she's nominated for because I hated Amelia Perez. Even before the controversy, I hated Amelia Perez. But I can't say I'd be upset with her winning just because I don't know if she's going to ever get a chance like this again. And she's done such great work in the Avatar movies that's going unnoticed because it's performance capture. I'm willing to overlook the movie that she's in this case if she's getting the Oscar. My preference would be Ariana Grande. Because she was fantastic in Wicked. But sorry, Wicked fans, you're probably going to have to hope that things break the right way when Wicked for Good comes out later this year.
Yeah.
That's the other elephant in the room that everybody knows the sequel's in the works, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows it's coming back. So it's like, does that negate the Academy's votes for these two very talented women? Because they're like, oh, they'll be back. We can hold on that.
I mean, it's Lord of the Rings. Now, granted, I mean, Dune hasn't gotten any acting nominations, but it's Lord of the Rings, where it's like, oh, you've got a sequel coming out. Well, we'll see how the sequel works out. Now, John M. Chu not getting nominated for director kind of throws a kink into that pattern. But at the same time, I mean, I think most people would, I mean, it goes back to Amelia Perez. It's like, I'd gladly see John M. Chu nominated over the director of Amelia Perez. Just like replace Amelia Perez with just about anything, and I'd be fine within any of the categories. But no, I mean, I think it'll be Saldana. I think SAG. She's got the most precursors of any of them. And
what do you think, Caz? You think that this is going to be a slam dunk?
I'm really sad that what's her name from Substance wasn't in for Best Actress.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
I agree.
Because that was absolutely outstanding. I would love to see a 1-2 punch with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. Especially when given Isabella Rossellini, what was she in 8 minutes? I think I read, and okay, like it was a good 8 minutes, but when people are putting in slogging away, you can do 8 minutes. That's like 2 days' work. So people are slogging away for months on end, putting in.
Judi Dench won for like 10 minutes for Shakespeare in Love. I mean, other stranger things have happened. I do agree with you about Qualley, though.
Same for that last scene in Network, who basically stole Piper Laurie's Oscar for appearing in Network for 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I hope that Ariana Grande does not win for Wicked, and I've been not shy in expressing my dislike of her performance in particular in that film. I did not like it. I thought it was all bubblegum and no facial expression, and I just didn't like it at all. I found it really off-putting. So however, I kind of have to think it's between Ariana Grande for Wicked and Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. Like you say, as much as we dislike that film, she put in a tough performance in it, and I would hope that she now it opens more doors for her to get a variety of more dramatic roles in future. and that she can start to shape her career in a different kind of way. And it makes me think of what's it, Harry Potter guy, who Harry guy, that guy.
Daniel Radcliffe or Rupert Grint?
Yeah. Or maybe both.
Daniel Radcliffe. I don't have the best memory sometimes, so I so in terms of when he finished that, and it was like, right, the world is your oyster now, and he was just like, I'm gonna do the weirdest stuff just to kind of reshape what everybody thinks about me and do what I actually want to do. So I hope that this is a platform for her to go off and do different kinds of roles. She's still she's young. She can go on to do a million different things and get nominated for stuff. But it shows us what she is capable of doing. As much as I wouldn't really want that film to win. So I think between the top two that I've just said, I don't really want either of them to win. I want Margaret Qualley to win. Thank you. Can you just redo the
Do over.
It is funny you say that, Caz, because out of all of the acting categories this year, I do think supporting actress is the weakest one.
Yeah.
Because Margaret Qualley, how the hell did she get snubbed? She was, I would argue, she's Moore's equal in a lot of ways. The film doesn't work without her. She's brilliant in that, and she would certainly be my pick to win it if I were choosing. And I also think Joan Chen in Dee Dee was a really serious snub. She was excellent in that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I do kind of have the opinion as well that Zoe Saldana in this category is technically category fraud, because if you think about it with Amelia Perez, Rita is the main character in that film. It's not really Amelia Perez. And to be fair, you could say the same about Kevin Culkin's character, who is the co-lead of A Real Pain. And, that was an excellent performance, and he's definitely going to win supporting actor. And it's funny you mentioned the Ariana Grande thing, because I did like her performance. I think it's a good performance. And I said on the Wicked podcast we recorded that I don't know if I'd personally give her an Oscar nomination. But when it became clear it was going to be between Saldana and Grande, I was saying throwing my weight behind Grande. I would take back everything I ever said about that. But admittedly, that comes more out of my own personal dislike for Amelia Perez than it does out of which, all things considered, it is forgive me for that. I'm about to praise Amelia Perez for a second, but it is a solid performance in fairness to her, and it does show she maybe has more dramatic chops than maybe even some critics have given her credit for. So when she inevitably wins, I'll be happy for her, but it wouldn't be my pick.
Right.
Yeah. I think Margaret Qualley got robbed horribly. Actually, I think she should have gotten a Best Actress nomination as well, because, like you say, it's equal. It's virtually the same character that they're playing, right? I mean, they're virtually playing the same human. And that's what was just unique to that film. It's just, that's how it was written, is that they were both the same person. So I really think she got robbed. Also, I'd like to do a shout out to Danielle Deadweiler for the piano lesson, which I was absolutely brilliant. Loved her in that, but I've been a longtime fan of hers. And that I don't think that got nominated for a screenplay or anything to that effect. So it's just, there was a lot of really solid supporting actresses this year, but honestly, let's all face it, the best supporting actor is going to be Culkin. I mean, it's been consistent. I don't see any race.
He's I mean, that's the one that gets engraved before the award ceremony, because it's like that has been as sure thing as anything. I mean, supporting actress, I would also say Anjanou Ellis-Taylor from Nickel Boys, I thought was tremendous. The one thing I would worry about Qualley, if she got nominated for actress, is that they do both actresses split the vote. And so I would much rather like to have seen Qualley in supporting for that reason. But just in general, because of the fact that it is a terrific performance, and you really cannot have one character without the other. I mean, you just can't, because that's the whole freaking movie. So,
but on supporting actor, 2 films on that list that I came out and just said, oh my god, that is an absolute shoo-in. for supporting actor. Yes, Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain was just phenomenal, but also Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved that because again, it was a slow decline from uh big mouth, bully, knows everything kind of guy to the underdog, and it was that change that really and it just everything he did in that I just thought was amazing, and I came out of that going, oh my god, if he doesn't win Best Supporting Actor, all the others on that list are neither here or there really. Edward Norton, like he was fine, but he didn't do anything that we're not used to
Yeah,
really seeing him doing.
yeah.
But yeah, Kieran Culkin and Jeremy Strong are my two. I won't be upset if either of them win.
Edward
Yeah, I
Norton is
mean,
funny because I just even just by the trailer of seeing for A Complete Unknown. Just the first time I saw the trailer, I gotta be perfectly honest. Chalamet didn't really impress me, but I heard Edward Norton talking like Pete Seeger, and I could close my eyes and swear that was Pete Seeger. It was one of the most
I,
bizarre things. I mean, he's fantastic, but it was just like, what was that? Play
I,
that back.
I, I feel like I feel like the Edward Norton nomination is just because he's clearly an Academy favorite. I mean, this was fourth or fifth nomination at this point. Um,
Has
and
he ever
I mean,
won?
great.
I don't
No,
think he ever won.
he hasn't won. He should have won for American History X, but that was the year they gave it to Roberto Benigni of all things. Um, but no, I agree with you about Strong. He was fantastic. I was really glad to see Borisov get nominated for Nora. I thought he did a
Yes.
wonderful job in that movie, but I will always and I will, as much as I like Norton as an actor, I would have gladly replaced him with Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing. Like he was my top supporting actor this year was Macklin, and yeah, but otherwise it's a fairly strong category. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these categories are fairly strong actually. The ones I saw all five nominees of, they were all fairly strong for the most part.
Yes, which brings us to Best Director. All right. Now, here's the real battle, right? Here's where it really gets interesting. Listen, not for nothing, but does Denis Villeneuve really need it for Dune 2? I mean, we know it's going to be a Dune 3. It's like the Lord of the Rings situation, right? So did he really have to get nominated? Couldn't really have given that to somebody
I would
else?
say yes, only because not only because I just think his direction is brilliant in that as well, but it's also a crime that Jacques Audiard got in for Emilia Perez and Denis Villeneuve didn't for either Dune film. So
Yeah,
for my
yeah,
own personal reasons of spite, I say yeah, it should be.
yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, I know Baker won DGA, but I have a feeling this is going to go Brady Corbett for Brutalist, just because it's the biggest vision of the five. I mean, other than the substance, the substance is the most original vision of the five.
Right.
Yeah.
But well, depending on regardless of how much you dislike Emilia Perez, there is something truly unique to the way that goes off the rails. But no, I think it's going to be Brady Corbett. I think he won BAFTA, he won the Golden Globes, I believe, and it's just such a massive vision. Again, the nomination is the win for substance in this category. The thing, and I talked about it on my podcast, the thing I'm most impressed with is that, I mean, I know other movies we categorize as horror have been nominated and won at the Academy Awards before. This is the first real visceral horror film to get this many nominations since I think The Exorcist.
Yes.
I mean, that is impressive.
I think it actually got one more nomination more than The Exorcist, didn't it? I think because I think
No,
it got
the Exorcist got like 10 nominations. It got a
did it?
lot of nominations.
Yeah.
it
really
ended up
well.
winning a couple, but yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, the 70s were crazy as far as movies getting nominated for Best Picture anyway, but no, I mean, and it was William Friedkin coming off of French Connection. I mean, so, but no, the fact that Substance got as many nominations as it did for the type of horror movie that is impressive. It is an extremely impressive accomplishment.
Well, also the fact that it's wholly original, which the Academy doesn't necessarily like originality. They like, sure bets. And written, directed by a woman, and
Yeah.
really the woman's viewpoint, right? This is,
Mhm.
again, you could make an argument that The Exorcist is from a woman's viewpoint too, but this is totally
Yes.
the woman's gaze. This is totally from a woman's experience, which is just so unique and so powerful. And like I said, I think it just creates this total subgenre of, and now we have women's horror, which I am so thrilled about and so excited about. But honestly, I agree with you. I think Brady Corbin has it locked, unless we have an upset with Sean Baker.
Yeah. I think the main way Sean Baker wins director is if they decide that they just love Honora that much more than everything else. And they decide, you know what, we're gonna give him the Del Toro treatment, we're gonna give him the Bong Joon-ho treatment, director, picture, writing, whole thing. We're gonna do that. I will say I think there is a slight possibility, even though I do think Sean Baker will win original screenplay, and I think that'll be his consolation prize essentially. I do think there's a chance Substance, if it's loved enough, sneaks in on screenplay, because they do occasionally award freaky ass writing.
Yeah.
Like you look at Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, you look at Talk to Her from Almodovar. They've got history there, but both of those also, those were they didn't really have other nominations, that they weren't also up for Best Picture. So,
What do you think, Caz? Who's your favorite?
I'm just looking at these and trying to sort of separate in my mind screenplay from director. Do we like the film because it was a great story, or do we like the film because it was particularly directed particularly well? And sometimes when you're watching films, it can be a little bit difficult to separate out the two. So if would I be upset if The Substance won? I don't know. I think Nora is more of a screenplay for me than a director.
mm-hmm.
Because it's the tension, the escalation of the drama comes from how it was written, not how it was directed. And I'm trying to remember now if there's any particular moments in that I think, oh my God, that was a really great director's choice as opposed to written in a particular way. So I think that whole thing can be a little bit difficult. I think if Nora, I just want Substance to win loads. To be honest, I just want that to win loads, because I think it's ballsy to use that phrase for a female, but it's ballsy written and ballsy directed as well. I wouldn't be upset if Honora won as well. The Brutalist for director, how much of it came down to directing versus cinematography, though, and I haven't scrolled down to check what's up for cinematography, because it was very beautiful. It was bold and stark, and you got a lot from the picture that you were seeing.
Yeah.
Is that directing, though? That's where does the line come between cinematography and director on that? I think, but then when you start getting down to slightly more technical categories, we're not seeing each one of these categories on its own. It's not in a vacuum. So when you're watching it, you kind of absorb all of these things. So beyond actors, you start having to think a bit more carefully. I think director. I'm still going to say substance for director. Won't be too upset if Honora got director. But I think Honora's strength comes from the screenplay more than the direction.
What do you think, Calum?
So I'm inclined to agree with what you say, Caz. I loved Honora. It was my second favorite film of the year, but I do think the screenplay is better than the direction. Or if I could only give one the win, it would be the screenplay. And Brutalist is kind of vice versa, actually. I think the direction there is excellent. I think Brady Corbet probably will win director because he does have that vision and he brings it together and streamlines it in such a way that, you know, how those 3.5 hours felt so quick is mind-blowing to me. And the ultimate irony being it probably could have done with being 10 minutes longer, despite how long it was. But yeah, I think if I were talking about dream scenario, I would absolutely love it if Coralie Farge somehow won director. I don't think it'll happen, sadly, but given what you were saying, Caz, it is such a bold swing for the fences movie that's so confident in itself. I think it would be amazing. And to your point on the screenplay, I do work as a script reader for various competitions, and I found the PDF of the Substance screenplay, and that's a very bold script. It's very unconventional. I mean, I know that's not saying much given the premise of the Substance, but one of the rules we're taught is that less is more. Basically, the more detail you can fit into the shortest paragraphs, the better. And Farge completely ignores that rule. She has onomatopoeias everywhere. She has massive chunky text. I think even take the dialogue, it only amounts to about 30 pages out of like 140 odd or something. So by screenwriting standards, it's very unorthodox. And so on that front, I think it would be an amazing winner if it did. As I say, I think it'll be Honora that wins screenplay and Corbet for director. But given that, you know, Substance, Honora, and Brutalist were my 3, 2, and 1 respectively, I'd really be happy with any of those, to tell you the truth.
Well, and the thing, one of the underrated aspects about Substance, and I think if the horror aspects of it were not as extreme as they are, I think Substance might have somewhat of a more likely opportunity. One of the things that's not really touched upon as much when it comes to Substance is it is a Hollywood film. It is a movie about Hollywood, and they tend to like those movies. And I think what you said about the screenplay is I think both of you make excellent points. Caz, I agree with you completely. It's very much Honora is very much more of a writer's accomplishment than directing accomplishment, especially because I think the second half of Honora, the middle act of Honora, really kind of stagnates to a large degree. It's very repetitious in a lot of ways. But to your point, Colin, when you're talking about the Substance screenplay, the fact that it's such a visual movie. It's so dependent on the visuals more than dialogue. That's an extraordinary achievement for a screenplay. It really is, and it makes her accomplishment as a director that much more impressive because of the fact that this is the vision I had for this movie, and it comes to life in a way that is very exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love for it to win too, because it was one of the most original films I have seen in such a long time. And to have it done created by a woman, her total vision on the page and on the screen, I just thought was staggeringly amazing. It blew me away. I couldn't believe the audacity of what I was seeing. It was just wow. But we're almost out of time. So I just want to do a quick shout, do a quick round robin here. Okay, favorite win for tomorrow, Caz. Go. Who do you think's going to win, and who are you going to be cheering on the most?
Oh my God. The substance, I would like to win everything it's up for. Thank you very much.
Brian.
Flow for give it both international and animated feature. I love that.
I second that.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm a musician. I'm a composer. I am not a fan of either of the music categories this year. Like they don't do a whole lot for me at all. And it sucks even more because I have a feeling El Malo is going to be the original song winner. And that depresses me.
All right, so we also have the downside. I get you. So we have the favorites and we have the downside. Calum, who are you rooting for tomorrow?
Well, so on Brian's point about music, I think the Academy, Amelia Perez should consider itself very lucky it's Best Original Song, because if it were just Best Song, Defying Gravity would be destroying everything instead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But to the question you're asking, Joan, I think the win I'd be most happy to see would be No Other Land for Best Documentary, because as far as I know, I don't think it has distribution in America yet, but I think it's such a powerful, important documentary, filmed amazingly given the circumstances that the filmmakers were in. And I think especially given what we're seeing now, it's very much a film of the moment. But even if we remove the surrounding geopolitical context around it, I do just think it's an extraordinary film and it deserves to win in my mind.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
one of the things that I will say, one of the things I did not necessarily see coming about No Other Land when I saw it was I did not realize how little of it took place after October 7th and during the current conflict. And I think that context matters to getting to the larger point of what it's trying to get to. And that, no, it's not just a reaction to what's happened, it's a reaction to everything. And I think, I'm even though I think I don't remember if it's officially gotten US distribution. I know it's been made available for critics, but yeah, I don't know if it's gotten distribution yet. But I'm curious because Porcelain War, I know, is about Ukraine. I know Sugarcane, which is about Native Americans, as indigenous people, has been a big possibility for documentary. I'm very curious which of those three ends up winning.
I'm really torn between Sugarcane and No Other Land because they were both so brilliant. I'm just devastated by both of them. Anyway, Caz and Calum are at the Glasgow Film Festival right now, and we can't wait to hear more from them with their reviews. Thank you both for taking your time out of your busy schedules for being here. Ryan wears so many hats. He's at Sonic Cinema. You can find him on Bandcamp. He's fantastic. Go follow him on Sonic Cinema. Thank you all for being with us today, and we will see what happens tomorrow. Oh boy, this has been so much fun. So follow along, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks everybody for being with us.
Bye.
Thank you.